So before we get into our composting scavenger hunt, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what composting is. It's the natural decomposition of organic material. It turns into fertilizer, which is excellent for crops. It's great for the economy to make your own fertilizer versus buy it. It increases crop yield. It saves water, helps biodiversity, and keeps greenhouse gases out of landfills, or at least less. Carbon dioxide is a byproduct of composting. However, it's far less than if you were to just throw these materials in a regular garbage bag and put them out in a dump. So the type of composting that I'm talking specifically about in this video is aerobic composting that uses oxygen, whereas anaerobic uses little to no oxygen, and it creates methane as a byproduct, which is why I prefer aerobic over anaerobic composting. And as I was about to film this, I saw a peach pit somewhere over here, right there. I'm gonna pick it up with my hands, which I probably shouldn't, but this is an excellent example of something that could have been thrown in the garbage, but it looks like someone tossed it on the ground to break down, and that can be our first composting ingredient. So we're outside on campus. I'm going to be starting a compost with a compostable bag because this is a brown paper bag, an excellent source of carbon. And here I'm going to be putting another excellent source of carbon into it, which is these dead brown fall leaves. So these are great because they're really easy to come by. All you need to do is exist in the fall, and they're right here. You can add them to your compost, and they're a great carbon source. Now I'm just peeling this cutie. This is gonna be my snack as we walk around and find things to compost. This orange rind is an excellent source of nitrogen, along with any really grass cuttings we would find, although Terry's worked hard on the grass, so I'm not gonna pick any grass. But other great sources of nitrogen are leaves that are still green, grass cutting, fruit and vegetable scraps, and even animal manure, but it just has to be herbivore animal manure. You don't ever want to put meat, fish, bones, grease, or the poop of anything that eats meat into your compost. And then other excellent sources of carbon would be paper, cardboard, coffee filters, hair, even nail clippings can go in the compost, along with our dead leaves. So we were just walking, I finished my orange, and this is an excellent source of carbon because it's really dead. So I'm going to put that in my compostable compost. Onward ho. Okay guys, we hit the jackpot. This is super exciting. Big clusters of mushrooms. These are great. They aid the decomposition process with a little bit of fungi. They're gonna introduce minerals to my compost. This is excellent. I don't know if these are poisonous or not, so I'm taking a little bit of a risk touching them with my hands, but we're just gonna take a couple and throw them in the compost. So here I found another nitrogen source, a chunk of grass cutting. Didn't even have to pull any grass to find this one, and we're going to add it in as a nitrogen source. So to wrap up our little scavenger hunt, I'm back inside, and I'm going to take these coffee grounds, which are another excellent source of nitrogen, and add them to my compost. This is a good teachable moment though. This is bleached paper. You can technically compost things that have been printed on and bleached, but they don't break down as well. There's, chemicals and other agents, and it's just better not to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the wet grounds into my bag, which will probably ruin it, but for the sake of learning, I just wanted to note that this paper is unbleached. If it were a brown coffee filter, I would throw it right in. But since it's not, I'm only adding the grounds. And then I need to put this in a solid bin because now there's a lot of moisture. Thank you guys for following this, and I hope that maybe you'll find it feasible to start your own compost. All right. This is where I've illustrated some of the key players in the composting process. So I have this temperature zone, 0 to 55 degrees. This is where the psychrophilic bacteria tend to thrive. They prefer closer to the 55-degree range, but really they can work down to freezing temperatures. And this is just one example of a psychrophilic bacteria. There are tons. Mesophilic bacteria, I gave them this muscle because they do most of the work in the average at-home compost, and they prefer a range of 70 degrees to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. However, they will work between 40 and 110 degrees, so they're very adaptable. And then here I have thermophilic slash heat-loving bacteria, hence the thermometer, and this is where compost is broken down in a hot compost. They break down compost very fast, so this is an accelerated process, and they love the heat. This is their ideal temperature range.